What would you do if a single moment turned your quiet evening into a heart-pounding clash of prejudice, pride, and redemption? In the fading light of a late summer evening, the air thick with the scent of blooming jasmine, my wife, Amara, and I stepped out of our modest home in suburban Oak Ridge. We were just another couple, hand in hand, savoring the calm after a long day. Amara's laughter, soft and melodic, floated through the neighborhood, her dark eyes sparkling under the streetlights. But in 42 seconds, everything we thought we knew about safety, justice, and belonging would be tested. Amara was born in Eritrea, a land of rugged beauty and unyielding spirit. She carried her heritage like a badge of honor, her accent a gentle reminder of the journey that brought her to America. She was a nurse, a healer, someone who spent her days stitching together lives in the ER. But to some, she was just different, a word that carried a weight she'd learned to bear with grace. That evening, she wore her favorite scarf, a vibrant weave of red and gold, a gift from her mother back home. Tucked beneath her jacket was her concealed carry permit and her pistol, a Glock 19 she'd trained with for years. Amara was no stranger to danger. She'd seen too much in her work to walk through life unprepared. We were halfway down Maple Street when it happened. Karen, yes, that Karen. The one with the perpetually pinched expression and a phone glued to her hand, emerged from her manicured lawn like a storm cloud. Her name wasn't actually Karen, but it might as well have been. She was Linda Voss, the neighborhood's self-appointed watchdog, always peering through her blinds, always ready to protect the street from imagined threats. Tonight, her eyes locked onto Amara. "Hey!" Linda's voice sliced through the evening. "What's that under your jacket? Are you carrying a gun?" Her tone was sharp, accusatory, dripping with the kind of entitlement that made your skin crawl. Amara froze, her hand tightening in mine. I felt my pulse quicken, but Amara's voice was steady. "Yes, I have a concealed carry permit," she said, calm but firm. "It's legal." Linda's face twisted, her lips curling into a sneer. "Legal? I don't think so. You people shouldn't be walking around with weapons like that." The words "you people" landed like a slap. I stepped forward, anger rising, but Amara's hand on my arm stopped me. She was used to this, used to the assumptions, the sidelong glances, the whispers. But I wasn't. I wanted to shout, to tell Linda to mind her own business. But Amara's eyes pleaded for restraint. "I'm calling the police," Linda declared, already dialing. "You're a danger to this neighborhood." She turned away, her voice rising as she spoke into the phone, painting Amara as a threat, a criminal, a stranger in a place she'd called home for years. My stomach churned. This wasn't just about a gun. It was about who Amara was, where she came from, and the color of her skin. The minutes that followed felt like hours. Neighbors peeked from their windows, drawn by the commotion. I could see the judgment in their eyes, the quick assumptions that Amara was somehow wrong. I wanted to protect her, to shield her from this, but all I could do was stand by her side, my heart pounding as sirens grew closer. Amara's face was a mask of composure, but I knew her well enough to see the flicker of fear in her eyes. She'd faced worse, far worse, but no one should have to endure this in their own neighborhood. 2 police officers arrived, their cruiser pulling up with a screech. Officer Daniels, a broad-shouldered man with a stern expression, stepped out first, followed by Officer Nguyen, younger, with a cautious but curious gaze. Linda rushed toward them, her voice shrill as she pointed at Amara. "That's her. She's got a gun, and she's acting suspicious. You need to do something." Daniels approached, his hand resting lightly on his holster. "Ma'am, I need you to step back and show me your hands," he said to Amara. My heart sank. This was escalating too fast. Amara complied, her movements slow and deliberate, her voice steady as she explained her permit. I could see the tension in Daniel's shoulders, the weight of Linda's accusations hanging in the air. But then came the twist, a moment that shifted everything. Officer Nguyen, who'd been quiet until now, stepped closer, his eyes narrowing as he looked at Amara. "Ma'am, can I see your ID?" he asked, his tone softer than Daniel's. Amara reached into her purse, pulling out her wallet. Alongside her driver's license was a small, weathered badge, no bigger than a credit card, embossed with the seal of Eritrea and the words, Honorary Medical Service. Nguyen's eyes widened. Is this? He started, then stopped, his voice catching. He took the badge, examining it closely. Daniels glanced over, his stern demeanor softening. What's that? He asked. Nguyen turned to his partner, his voice low but intense. This is an Eritrean Homeland badge. It's given to medical personnel who served during the border conflicts. My cousin's a doctor in Asmara told me about these. They're rare. You don't get one unless you've saved lives under fire. The air seemed to still. Linda's mouth opened, then closed, her certainty crumbling. Amara's eyes met Nguyen's, and for the first time that evening, I saw her relax, just a fraction. I was a field nurse, she said quietly. During the war, I carried supplies, patched up soldiers, and delivered babies in tents while bombs fell. That badge is all I have left of those years. Daniels took the badge from Nguyen, his expression unreadable. Then, to my astonishment, he straightened, his hand snapping to his forehead in a crisp salute. Ma'am, he said, his voice thick with respect. Thank you for your service. Nguyen followed suit, his salute sharp and sincere. The neighbors, still watching, fell silent. Linda's face flushed red, her phone slipping from her hand to the grass. 42 seconds. That's how long it took from Linda's call to the moment the officers saluted Amara's badge. 42 seconds for prejudice to collide with truth, for a neighborhood to see Amara not as a threat, but as a hero. But the victory was bittersweet. Amara smiled, gracious as always, and thanked the officers. They checked her permit, confirmed everything was in order, and warned Linda about false reports. She stammered an apology, but it was hollow and we all knew it. As the officers drove away, Amara and I walked home, her scarf catching the breeze. I wanted to celebrate, to revel in the moment when her truth had silenced the lies. But Amara was quiet, her eyes distant. It shouldn't take a badge, she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. It shouldn't take proof of my worth for people to see me as human. Her words hit me like a punch. She was right. The badge had changed the narrative, but it hadn't erased the sting of Linda's accusations or the neighbors' silent judgments. Amara had carried that badge through war, through loss, through 1,000 moments of courage. Yet here, in the supposed safety of our home, she'd had to prove herself all over again. That night, as we lay in bed, I held her close, feeling the weight of her silence. The world outside our window was quiet now, but the echoes of the evening lingered. I thought of Linda, of the neighbors, of the countless others who judged Amara without knowing her story. I thought of Nguyen, whose recognition had turned the tide, and I wondered about his cousin in Asmara, another unsung hero in a world quick to judge. The next morning, Amara went back to the ER, her scarf bright against her scrubs, her badge tucked away in her wallet. She saved lives that day, as she always did, her hands steady despite the weight she carried. I watched her leave, pride and pain warring in my chest. She was my wife, my hero, but the world would always demand she prove it. And that was the cruelest twist of all, not the salute, not the badge, but the truth that no honor could shield her from a world that saw her as less. The badge had won the moment, but the battle? That was far from over.